you may want to quit a lot of things, but it's still going to come back to you. The prodigal child always have to come back home.
And yes, it go 1, 2, 3. I got to be a beast and be like 1, 2, 3. I'm hot, watch me unleash and it go 1, 2, 3. When you know that you the best out, chest out. I'm saying I got now, forget the rest now. 1, 2, 3. I got to be a beast and be like 1, 2, 3. I'm hot, watch me unleash and it go 1, 2, 3. When you know that you the best out, chest out. I'm saying I got now, forget the rest now. I rap with the soul of Frankie Beverly, amazed on these graceful beats, forever heavenly. They'll never be, none after me, unless we talking let us see, but let us see. But get on high notes like I'm lettucey. It's the real dreamer and artist formerly known.
I want you to get in your bag with an experience that you can tell me, man. So like, share with us a story of a time when you faced adversity and emerged stronger on the other side.
Let me think on that one for a minute.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I can think of, again, plenty of journeys. I'm gonna try not to go back to my most recent journey because, you know, I've been hitting on that one a lot, but although that one was very pivotal for me. But 2020 was another impactful experience for me when it seemed like life was turned upside down for me. And I had a choice of, am I going to keep going or am I going to quit? In fact, in that moment, that's what launched me out to even start on this journey where I am now. So that was it was an awakening for me of, you know, it's time to step into who I am. It's time to become the man that I was called to be. It's time for it. It's just that time. So I had two, again, you know, it goes back to those options. I had two options laid before me. What am I going to do? I chose to take this path of being relentless. You know, that was really, you know, the wording for relentless has always been there. It's always been in my spirit. But it was that moment in 2020 that Relentless was actually what I would say birthed into the earth. The Relentless motivator was birthed into the earth. That was when I actually wrote that book, Relentless, Be Relentless. You know, that was the launching of everything.
Okay. Now I hear you speak a lot about God.
Yeah.
Since I've been on you, I can understand and I can appreciate that you are a man of God because it's always an interchange of encouragement when we talk. So with that being the case, as a man of God and a motivational speaker, how do you blend spirituality with practical guidance in your message?
Man, first of all, without God, I'm nothing. And I see that more so now than I ever have. Because, you know, like I said, last year I started, you know, year before last, I started rebuilding that relationship with God because I recognized, you know, that was a piece that was missing. And it, you know, it was hurting me drastically because, you know, I was going down a different path, but even to intertwine the both of them, for me, I feel like that's ministry. I know in the church world, you know, everybody feels like ministry is up on the platform, speaking in front of the people. For me, yeah, that may be ministry for them, but that's not what I consider to be ministry. For me, ministry is out here to the people that's hurting. For me, ministry is out here to the people that want to give up.
Yeah.
And those who need it. And I feel like if I can give them that spark of fire of motivation, they're going to want to have a conversation with me. In that conversation, just like you said, no matter what conversation I have, I'm going to mention God. That is my opportunity to minister to them. That is my opportunity to show God to them.
Yeah.
And, you know, we get so caught up in we got to bring them to the church. We got to bring them to the church. Well, everybody's not going to come to the church.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of people that's been hurt by the church, and I get it. Everybody says, well, you can't blame God for what people have done. Yeah, that is true, but at the same time, people are people and they're hurt.
Right.
So we got to go out to them and help them heal and let them see the God that is in us, so that they can see, well, everybody in church isn't like this. And I hate to use the terminology of church, but that's what most people, they know and recognize with. So that is one of the things that I recognize, is that in the midst of doing ministry, everything that I'm doing is still ministry. This podcast, whether people realize it or not, that's still ministry, because
Yeah.
I'm motivating people. I'm still mentioning God, and it's like I'm not forgetting God in the picture. God is gonna always be in the picture. God is always gonna be the center. He's gonna be my beginning. He's gonna be my middle. He's gonna be my ending,
Mm-hmm.
because He's the Alpha and the Omega.
Yeah.
So everything I do, and it is He that is guiding me. I seek Him daily. Okay, God, how do you want me to do this? It was in prayer. I had this idea, man, a while ago, that whenever I started the podcast back up, I wanted to have a transparent conversation. I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to be relentless transparency.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I like that, because that leads perfectly into my next question. So, what role do you believe transparency and being authentic play in effective leadership?
Man, sometimes you can't win the people over without being transparent.
Yeah.
You gotta be, you gotta be real with the people. I'm
Mm-hmm.
learning even more to be straight up with the people, that follows me, the people that I lead. So, and that builds trust.
Mm-hmm.
Even last year, I would sometimes apologize to my staff and tell them, look, I'm not at my best. I just got a lot going on right now. And,
Mm-hmm.
even in the midst of what I'm going through, I try to set the standard so high for myself that even when I'm at my lowest, and even when it seems like I'm not doing well, I'm still giving, I'm still going harder than the next person. I'm still pushing even harder than the next person that's pushing at their 100%. My 75% may look like somebody else 100%. And even in the midst of it, in the midst of me managing Boy Man King, in the midst of me managing Crump's platform, in the midst of me managing the Months platform, I never missed a beat. So you could never really, if you knew me, you knew I was going through some stuff, but at the same time, you couldn't really tell, because again, I'm not missing a beat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't posting on my page, but at the same time, while I was gone, I was still re-strategizing. And just
Mm-hmm.
like I said, even in the midst of it, leave no days left behind. Even if you're taking one step, I was taking one step each day. Sometimes I
Yeah.
would take 2 or 3 steps.
Mm-hmm.
So, as we came into this year, God told me, time is up. Now you got to start moving. Now you got to start putting in the work. It's time. People need to hear your voice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, through I'm speaking somewhat through everybody else's platform, but it still wasn't my voice.
Yeah.
Everybody needed to hear the voice of the relentless motivator. Everybody needed that fire that I give.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I like that. And man, we had definitely a great privilege and responsibility at that of mentoring some young men last year, and I wanted to ask you, like, as far as your mentoring go, how do you approach mentoring others to embrace relentless qualities in their own lives?
Man, first we look at the journey. Let's see where
Mm-hmm.
they are first. And
Mm-hmm.
let's see where they're trying to go. And from that moment, when we see where they're trying to go, then we can help them get to that moment. We can help them get to that place that they need to be. So I see your starting point, but now let's map out where we need to go.
Yeah.
And even in that, sometimes I see it through prayer. I'm a visionary and I'm prophetic. So, I seek God on where they need, who they are, first of all, who God has called them to be, and how can we get them to the person that God has called them to be. So, and once we start seeing that, we can kind of map out the journey, and that's just like what I do in content creation. I get to know the person. As I'm getting to know the person, okay, then God gives me the vision. God, he opened my eyes. Okay, this is the route that I want them to go. Okay, well now let's build this.
Yeah.
I'm not like every other content creator. I'm not like every other mentor, every other coach, because when I see them, I'm looking at their spirit. I'm not looking at where they are right now. Because a lot of times, especially like, the mentorship that we have, a lot of times, people, they have a habit of seeing the person where they are right now. And they get aggravated with them and they get frustrated with them. But it's another thing to prophetically see where they can go.
Yeah.
So where I come in, where we come in, we help them get to that path with not having to go through the stuff that we went through.
Right.
Because, we was on another path. We have our destiny of who we called to be, but we went on another path. Although that path still helped us to be, become the person who we had to be. But let's think about it. If we had a us in our lives, a lot of stuff could have been avoided.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
now this is the opportunity for me to help somebody else. And one of the biggest mistakes that I feel like I've ever made to this day, every now and then I think about it and it hurts me. When I first got out of, I was in boot camp. When I first got out, one of the guys I was locked up with that knew me, he used to be in the neighborhood every now and then. He came to see me. But I didn't want to come to the door. He stayed there ringing the doorbell and I never came.
Yeah.
And, I vowed then that I'd never do that again. So when I tell y'all, man, just call me.
Yeah.
I'm there. I mean that.
Yeah. For sure.
It may have to be through text for a moment. And, if I can empower you through the text and then until I can get to calling you, that's what we're going to do. But I'm not going to leave another brother left behind ever again.
Yeah.
Because I think about, man, what in that moment, what kind of impact could I have had on him in that moment? Because for him to count down the days from when we was in county together and count down 90 days to recognize when I'm going to get out and come see me, that says a lot about my impact.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, thinking about, and just to tell a few stories, man, when I was locked up, the impact that I even had as a leader there, man, I would lead, no matter where I was at, I had some kind of impact. When I was in county, I would lead my whole block in prayer. I would stay in my cell most of the day seeking God. Only time I would come out was to take a shower and to call my mama just to let her know I was okay. Other than that, I probably would have stayed in there all day. But cats would come to my cell just to talk to me, just for me to pray for them. That's the kind of impact. You know what I'm saying? When I finally got to boot camp, man, I think about just from talking, when I was talking to two people, by the time I was finished talking, the whole boot camp was there listening to the message that I was saying, the message of God.
Yeah.
That's impact. That's the things that people don't see. But, we're so busy wanting to be in the church, in the building,
Right.
that we're not going out here doing the work that we're doing. We're not going out here trying to mentor people. We're not going out here trying to inspire, motivate, and empower people. It's needed.
Yeah.
And people in ministry can knock motivation. They can knock all of that if they want to. But what we're doing, we're helping to first of all wake them up and help them realign. And as we're realigning them, that's when ministry starts for us.
Yes.
That's when we start ministering to them.
Yeah.
That's ministry.
That's ministry. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm about to hit you with something right quick because you talked about, your mentoring and whatnot. You talked about the past when you was younger. If you can go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Don't give up.
Okay.
Simple as that. Don't give up. Life is going to be hard.
Yeah.
It's going to be times you're going to question everything and believe in yourself. And you are great. I need you to know that you are great. But I don't need you to give up on yourself. Don't quit. There's so much potential in you. You're a great leader. You have it in you.
Yeah.
You're a change agent. You have so much in you, but don't you dare give up right there. Don't quit. I know a lot of things that happen in your life hurt you. I know a lot of things you wanted to die. You didn't think you was going to see the age. You didn't think you was going to see your 20s.
Right.
But I want you to know that there's hope. I want you to know that there is hope. That's what I would tell my younger self.
That's powerful. That's powerful. There's a lot of misconceptions when it comes down to leadership, right?
Yeah.
So what is one misconception about leadership that you're passionate about debunking?
That we know it all. Because we don't. And we're human.
Yeah.
A lot of people expect leaders to be superhuman. They expect us to be they expect us to be Superman.
Right.
But even Superman has kryptonite. I don't even prefer Superman. I prefer, if anybody knows me, they know my favorite character is Batman. And Batman was powerful. He was a leader, but yet he was still human. And he had to sometimes face his humanity. He had to face himself as a man. He had to face his challenges.
Yeah.
But did that mean he give up? Absolutely not. It may have been moments where life hit him so hard that he had to take off the cape, man, and say, I can't do this no more. Robin may had to step into the role for Batman at a moment. But at that moment, he eventually came back to it, because no matter what, you may want to quit a lot of things, but it's still going to come back to you. The prodigal child always have to come back home. What are you saying, Kay? You can run from your purpose all you want. You can run from the things that God called you to do, called you to be. You can run from it all you want, but eventually, you're going to come back to it. You're going to have to circle back to it. Because God is he's going to let you, all right, I'll let you have that. I'm going to utilize this journey that you're on to make you even better. I'm going to utilize this journey to make you wiser. I'm going to utilize this journey for you to help somebody else that's going to need the help along the way. But you're always going to come back to me. You're always going to come back to the purpose I called you to. You're always going to come back to my will. Regardless of what you or anybody else has to say, we're always going to come back to God's will, because the prodigal child always have to come back home.
Yeah. That's powerful. And it makes me think about my next question. Not even a question. Describe a moment when you felt most aligned with your purpose.
I think now.
Okay.
Now is the moment that I feel more aligned with my purpose than I ever have in my life, bro. Despite everything that's going on right now, I still have my days, you know it. I still have my moments, but I keep pushing. Now I'm learning to become that person and being comfortable in who I am to be that leader of leaders, to encourage, to inspire.
Yeah.
And so, right now I feel more like I am that relentless motivator that I ever have in my life, that I am that leader. That
Yeah.
I am, and life, I kid you not, last year, life made me doubt and question who I even was. If I was even the person that I thought I was, that I knew the man that I was to be, if I was even that person. Life challenged me in that way. But I pushed through it. It was a moment I had to push through it and it was hard, bro. It was really hard because it was moments that I was questioning myself, like, is this, life would paint a picture that wasn't me, and is this who I am? But I had to wake myself up. I had to awake, O sleeper. It's a scripture in the Bible that says, awake, O sleeper. I had to wake myself up and realize that this is not the man that I think I am. This is the man that I am. He's been there all along, regardless of what anybody has to say, regardless of anybody that doubted, I am that person.
Yeah.
And whether they want to doubt me, and I refuse to even doubt myself in this moment, because at the end of the day, they're gonna see Joseph. Joseph is gonna be at that ending, and I'm gonna be that person, that same person, to light that fire in them. Because it takes a whole nother level of forgiveness. Bro, God dealt with me about that forgiveness last week, man. The brothers that I felt like I was hurt from. How can you expect other people to forgive you if you can't even forgive them?
Yeah.
I had to do a real perspective, a look at myself. We want everybody else to give us grace. We want everybody else to forgive us. We want everybody else to forgive our mistakes and the past things that we have done. But you can't forgive the people who have fought against you, who have wronged you. You can't forgive those people. You can't forgive those people who have said hurtful things.
Yeah.
And we know this even in marriage, man. Sometimes we may say hurtful things to each other, but we still got to get back in that ring together. Regardless of it.
Yeah. Yeah. When you talk about how you refuse to doubt yourself, especially during challenging times, can you share with us an affirmation or many affirmations, whichever one, that keeps you grounded during those challenging times?
Really, that Chinese proverb I told you about.
Okay.
The man that moved the mountain. I think about that. And, that mountain, in that way, in certain ways, my doubt was that mountain. And I had to remove that mountain out of the way, regardless of what anybody else was saying, because the noise is going to chatter.
Oh yeah.
The devil is going to do his thing too. You're going to have all of these different voices in your head saying that you can't, saying that you're not. But what are you going to do? At the end of the day, it rests on you. What are you going to do? Are you going to fold? Or are you going to keep going? Are you going to believe? Or are you going to doubt? You got two choices. What you going to choose?
Right. Two choices. That's it. Now listen, man, I know you're a busy man. You're about one of the hardest working men I know. And I know what you've been through over the last, year. I know this. So how do you prioritize your self-care and your mental wellness, even though you're so busy?
That's a good question. And just being transparent, that's a work in progress for me.
Yeah.
And, I think a few weeks ago, life hit me to the point where I realized, and it was back like last year where I was trying to do this and do that, and then life had to happen to push me into it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was trying to, I've been trying to be everything for everybody else, but I wasn't being it for me. And life had to knock me upside the head, where I had to recognize that I need to be that for me, that what I'm being for everybody else. I'm creating content for everybody else. I'm building everybody else's brand. I need to look out for my brand too. And not only that, I need to rest for myself too, because I need me too. We be there for everybody else but ourselves sometimes. We forget that we need ourselves too.
Mm-hmm.
So, I realized that, and, now I'm working on managing my time better. Do I have good days and bad days where sometimes it just doesn't happen? Yeah. But I also have a shutdown day too. Fridays, most times, are my shutdown day. As soon as I get home, I'll lay down for me. I lay down for a couple of hours. No phone, no nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just rest. I just be.
Yeah.
Just so I can have time for me. So I'm learning that rest is very important, because, again, I can't fight the battles that I need to fight. I can't empower anybody else if I'm not taking care of me.
Yeah, that's a fact. I can appreciate it. That's why when we were speaking the other day, and I was like, what time you want to crank it up today? And you was like, look, I get off at 5, but give me a little minute to get some rest. And I said, all right, I got you, because I know how important that is, especially right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To switch gears a little bit though, can you recall a specific moment when you felt a profound connection with your audience while speaking?
Man, my last episode of last season.
Okay.
Everybody, I got a lot of different messages and calls on that episode. Everybody absolutely loved that episode. And, again, that's that empowerment. Don't stop here. Keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Don't quit here. And not knowing just how much I was going to need that same message for what was ahead.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. That's deep. Because sometimes we, like you said, if we're just natural leaders, natural people that want to uplift people, man, sometimes I mess around and go back through my posts, and I'm like, man, I really needed that right there. I needed to hear that myself in this present. So I can understand where you're coming from that point right there. Now being vulnerable, it's kind of hand in hand with transparency. What role do you believe being vulnerable plays in fostering meaningful connections with others?
Man, being vulnerable is being open.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're being vulnerable, and don't get me wrong, sometimes we have to use wisdom. I realize that. I recognize that. Mm-hmm. But that vulnerability, it lets people know that you're human, for one.
Yeah.
And it lets people know I bleed just like you. I go through just like you. But at the end of the day, you're going to still see me pushing forward. At the end of the day, and I would tell you, I told you, I want to become more transparent anyway. Mm-hmm. I may not tell you the whole story, but you're going to get a bulk of it to be able to feel me.
Yeah.
Because that's what we need sometimes, because especially across social media, it looks like everybody is doing good.
Right.
But what about the moments when you're doing bad?
Mm-hmm.
What about the moments when you don't feel like being? What about the moments you don't feel like doing purpose? What about those moments when you just really tired, fed up, and you want to quit? Just like I told you, life is going to life.
Yeah.
Life is going to hit a point where you just want to quit. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do then? How are you going to raise up from that moment then? So that transparency, I feel like me being transparent now of why I'm relentless, that's going to help so many people.
Yeah. Oh
That
yeah.
that alone is gonna empower so many people because I'm gonna empower you, but I'm gonna start you off from the ground. We're gonna walk to the plane. We're gonna take a walk. We're gonna go on the journey. You know
Yeah.
how life is gonna life, but then we're gonna get in that plane. You got to take those steps. You
Yeah.
know, you got, even if it's one step at a time, leave no days left behind, leave no step left behind. You got to keep moving. And
Yeah.
then when you get up in the air, it's gonna get shaky sometimes because a storm may happen. That doesn't mean you stop the plane.
Right.
We may have to lower altitude just a little bit, but we got to keep going.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
now and then you may have to land, but you
Yeah.
don't let that moment last too long. You still got to get back up in the air.
Yeah, you talking to me, man. Whether you know it or not. You talking to me, man. I've been trying to get myself situated, man. I can definitely appreciate this conversation we having, man. Speaking of conversations, if you could sit down with any historical figure for a conversation, who would it be and why?
Dang. I would say Kobe.
Oh wow, okay.
And this is why. Because for me, when I think about being relentless, I think about the Mamba mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Kobe, he kept pushing it. You
Yeah.
know, when Kobe first started in the league, he wasn't everybody thought he was gonna fail.
Mm-hmm.
But he put in that work
Mm-hmm.
and he showed them I'm more than what you think I am.
Yeah.
And that's me. You know, I would like to have a conversation of how, when, what.
Yeah.
You know, I would have, some real conversations on how did you invoke that Mamba mentality when you needed to. Or,
Mm-hmm.
how did you walk off the court when you torn your Achilles?
Yeah.
How? You know, that
Right.
ain't something the average person to do.
Right.
I'm that type of person. Even when I hurt myself, I gotta keep pushing. You seen it. Even when I was emotionally hurt, I gotta keep pushing. It was hard. It hurt, but I gotta keep pushing. I may limp. I may got a little limp, but I'm gonna keep pushing it.
Dig it. Most definitely. Kobe, yeah, that would be a great conversation.
Yeah.
That would be a great conversation. Describe your ideal vision for the impact you hope to leave on the world.
Man, through my books, through the podcast, that's why I want to do what I do. Because I look at some of the older books that I read now and see just how relevant they are to this time. I want people, even after I'm gone, to be able to pick up a book that I've written and feel like, man, this hit me when I needed it the most. Because it's going to be somebody in the future that long after I'm gone, that's going to need that motivation. That's going to need to see the videos that I have on YouTube or whatever's going to be the hottest thing then. They're going to need to see that. They're going to need to see my books. And they're going to need that empowerment. I want to leave empowerment to the world. I want to light a fire in people, whether I'm here or not, to keep going and not give up, not quit. You got this. And at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, the main word I want to leave them with is be relentless.
Be relentless. This makes perfect sense. I got one final question for you, man. In what ways do you see your journey evolving in the next chapter of your life and your career?
Man, as you know, I'm trying to now get ready to build a team for the content creation. And that's so that I can start focusing on my speaking because it's that time now.
Yeah.
I recognize the fire that's in me. So now it's time to release the fire on the earth. It's time to release that empowerment on the earth.
Yeah.
It's that time. It's that moment. It's time for me to go into those dark places with people. And I'll say this. Not everybody can go into a dark place with somebody.
Right.
Some people will go into a dark place with somebody else and get lost in that dark place with them. Not everybody has that strength.
Right.
So I'm walking in there with you, and I'm pulling you out. It's time. It's too many people with so much potential, with so much purpose, that has ran from their purpose, that has ran from what God has called them to be. It's time, bruh. It's time for me to take up my bag and walk. It's time for me to get with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. When I first met you, man, I was drawn to you. You know what I'm saying? I was drawn to you from the energy that you just put out, the positive energy that you just put out. You know what I mean? And to hear you speak a year later, how you speak, even on this podcast, that fire is evidently seen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know, it's just there. So I'm looking forward to the journey, man. I'm looking forward to it. And speaking of journey, man, every journey is marked by moments of reflection, growth, and transformation. As we conclude today's conversation, we're reminded of the power of being authentic and the courage it takes to embrace change. So I want to encourage all the listeners and the watchers, whatever you're doing, however you listen or watching this, join K. Noel as he continues to explore the relentless pursuit of purpose and the transformative potential that lies within each and every one of us. Thank you for allowing me to be able to be a guest host on this relentless conversation with K. Noel. Today we've embarked on a journey of reintroduction, one filled with honesty, being vulnerable, and unwavering commitment to empower others. As we move forward, let's carry forth the spirit of relentless leadership and the belief that with determination and being authentic, anything is possible. Until next time, y'all, stay inspired, stay empowered, and most importantly, stay relentless.
Hey, aren't you glad? I'm bringing it back. My chains in the past. Got my confidence back. I ain't living in last. That ain't living like that. Hey, aren't you glad?